relationships are ships bringing different cargo to our shores.
We all know that breakups are awful. Is there anything that people can do to minimize the drama that they go through so they can move on more peacefully with their life?
I think when, as Helen knows, your body and your brain is just filled with chemicals, and it is so hard to figure out how to manage through the muck of it all. But I think if you can take a moment to catch your breath, retreat slightly, the first thing you should do is put down the ego. The ego is like a cobra. It just flashes and wants to bite anything in its way when it senses trouble. And there is no more difficult time than when you're broken up, or especially if you are the one who's just been dumped, so to speak. So really, minute by minute if you need to, second by second, who's calling the shots? It comes down to choices. Who's calling the shots? The real you or the ego and little sidekick pride? They have really no business in the beginning of healing. So I would say ego, then I would say take ownership. And I think that this is a hard thing for most people to do. But if you can take what is rightfully yours. It takes two to tango. If you can take what's yours and honestly say, you know, I wasn't available, or I was too closed off, or I didn't confront when I needed to, I ignored my gut feelings, then actually it's not a get out of jail free card for the person who broke up with you. It's about empowerment and taking what's yours, learning from it, and leaving. And it's a great way to stand in your own space.
Well, you know, I study rejected people, and we've put Lucy Brown, my brain scanning partner, and I have put 17 people into the brain scanner who had just been dumped. And we found activity in brain regions linked with feelings of intense romantic love. You're still madly in love with the person. Brain regions linked with deep feelings of attachment. 3 brain regions linked with craving, and also a brain region linked with physical pain and the distress that goes along with physical pain. But what we really discovered was activity in a brain region linked with addiction, with all of the addictions. The nucleus accumbens becomes active when you're a heroin addict, a cocaine addict, a alcohol addiction, a nicotine addiction, and even a food, sex, or gambling addiction. And so I would really say, adding not only to the ego, but treat it as an addiction. Get rid of the cards and letters. You know, don't write, don't call, don't show up. Go out and get some exercise. That'll drive up the dopamine system. You'll feel some better. Be around close friends. But you know, but don't lie down. You know, there's somebody camping in your head. You got to get them out. You got to keep moving. And I think that men and women make 2 different kinds of mistakes. Women talk about it over and over and over with their friends. That's good in the beginning. You got to create a scenario that you can then throw out. But after a while, you're just raising the ghost. You're just re-traumatizing yourself. And in fact, one time when it happened to me, finally, friends who were being polite and said, well, Helen, you know, how's it going now? And I began to say, let's not talk about it, because it's just going to re-traumatize me. And men seem to just, you know, hole up and watch TV, or drink too much, drive too fast, take too many drugs. They need to talk about it more. Yeah. But anyway, it is an addiction. And when you said, you know, this thing about there's a brain region linked with trying to figure out what you've gained and what you've lost. And so this is one of the reasons why all of you guys are in such a good business, you know, because people, when they walk into your office, the brain is primed to try and figure out, well, what do we do next Christmas? Who takes the children? Who gets the dog? What about the house? Well, my friends still talk, et cetera, et cetera. They're primed for your kind of advice.
You know, I think if divorce were just happening with the cantankerous Johnny and Susie down the street, we could blow it all off. But in fact, divorce is a sociological phenomenon, and I think it's best thought of as more of as a developmental state. Because 2 young people come together and they form a nest. They form a holding space in which to further individuate after parents and school systems have done their thing. And so in that state, they do phenomenal things. They raise children, they establish a home, they build careers. And in fact, what we tend to call failure, I think, is actually the success of the relationship. In other words, the breakup is actually a phenomenon of the growth they've done, so that the individuation and growth that has happened in the union has uncovered their new needs and their new preferences and styles. So the breakup is not really a moral wrong. It's a phenomenon of growth.
So when we talk about relationships, I normally talk about, with my clients, relationships are ships bringing different cargo to our shores. So during a breakup, we can definitely, when we look at the breakup and the drama that's happening from a perspective of how can I unpack that for myself, using it as a mirror to ask what's going on in my life that this drama is happening, right? It's constantly going back to myself and asking, what is this cargo teaching me? Right? And then also another thing I tell my clients all the time is nothing I experience is created by anything outside of me. Mm-hmm. So when I'm experiencing, that can be a little mind bendy, right? It's like, wait, but I thought he was causing this. I thought she was causing this. No, nothing I experience is caused by anything outside of me. And when you start to adopt this thought, this really gets rid of that victim consciousness, right? We're talking about feeling like all these things are happening to me. They're not. And so really looking at it from that perspective, and also using the perspective that bad experiences happen to give us lessons so that we can move forward with our life in more educated, more accepting, more important ways.
So if you're going through a breakup, I think the panel's clear. Take the oxygen out of the drama. Get off social media, take care of yourself, check your ego at the door, get some help, and you'll get over it.